Hello, welcome to Beyond the Boundary. This is the preview for the second preliminary final.
It's Hawthorn versus Port Adelaide, Saturday afternoon at the MCG. Last time these two teams met, it was round 10 at Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide won that one by 14 points. The votes from our group: Jared Pollock got the 3, John Lewis got the 2, and Travis Boak got the 1. Hawthorn have won 4 of the last 5 encounters between these two sides. And congratulations to Matthew Spanger, Bradley Hill, and Andrew Moore, who will all play their 50th game. We'll take a quick look at the finals path for these two teams. Hawthorn beat Geelong in week 1 to progress straight through to the preliminary final, while Port Adelaide have overcome Richmond and Fremantle to meet them there. The winner of this game progresses to the grand final, where they will face the winner of Sydney and North Melbourne, while it's season over, obviously, for the loser. We'll start with Hawthorn, who defeated Geelong in the first week by 36 points. What do we make of it, guys?
The Spang, 50 games. Get around him.
Well, he signed a fresh new contract.
2-year contract.
Not as fresh as his facial hair, but just slightly less fresh for 2 more years.
Yep.
And that tells a lot, to be honest, because he's not one of these
He's had a
guys.
very, very good year.
The thing you love about Matt Spanger is that every game he plays, it's like he's playing for his spot.
Yeah.
And so now we can be a little bit more confident. He's got 2 years more under the belt, so he's probably not going to be under the same pressure. But
Yep.
the last time they played Geelong, boys, it was comprehensive, wasn't it?
Yep. Well,
Geelong,
the second half was.
Yep. Up until half time, it looked like another one of those classic, typical Geelong Hawthorn thrillers that we're all set for. And we thought, it's going to go either way. And then Hawthorn came out of the blocks like a raging bull and just trampled them.
Even with 8 minutes to go in that game, it was still only 14 points the difference. So
Okay.
Hawthorn really they got in control of the game,
Yep.
but the margin was still relatively close until right at the end there.
Yeah, so they really put them away in that last quarter, I
They
think.
sort of held them at arm's length, you'd say.
Correct.
Sam Mitchell was absolutely terrific. 36 disposals, 6 clearances, and 4 score assists.
I thought he
was-
was best on ground that night.
Yeah.
I know Nick
I strongly disagree.
with Joel Selwood getting 31 and 3 goals, but
And 6 tackles, 6 clearances as well.
But Sam Mitchell had about 15 score involvements that night, which was absolutely phenomenal. 4 goal assist, I think it was.
Yep.
36 disposals, 13 contested, 81% efficiency. He is deadly on either side of the foot.
Well, you can't let a man
Fake
like Sam Mitchell
body.
run unchecked. He had 36 touches at 81% efficiency.
Yep.
And he's reached a stage where he'll use his opposite foot as his normal foot.
Well, it was his normal foot.
Yeah, he'll use his left foot more than his right, which is just perplexing to watch, but, it's a thing of beauty.
He was actually born a left footer.
He was.
He played his junior football.
He's got a bit of David Warner in him, does he?
So it's hard to tell which one is...
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
His natural foot is his left foot.
Okay. Well, the fact that we're actually debating which of his feet is his actual foot tells you a lot about the kind of guy that he is. Anyway, moving forward.
Isaac Smith was terrific.
A man that is definitely a left footer.
Yeah, I thought he was one of the most influential players on the ground. 8 marks, 7 inside 50s.
Boy.
Off the wing and half forward there, he was absolutely terrific.
A goal and 2 score assists. This guy has one of the most enormous engines in the AFL.
Yeah.
27 touches at 74%. Isn't that what you want from a wingman?
Yeah.
And those inside 50s are worth their weight in gold. He marks it, he runs hard. He does get tagged. People think that he plays well because he never gets tagged. He does get tagged. It's just that he breaks them. By running extremely hard, he runs himself into the dirt. He's one of those guys that when he comes off the ground, if you were to interview him after the ground, he'd be, huffing and puffing. And
He's one of those 100-metre players.
He's
Where he gets the ball, he runs 50 metres, and then kicks it 50 metres.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
So very vital
To every
any-
team, yeah.
to any side.
In the absence of Matt Suckling as well, he's
Yeah.
been very good.
Speaking of a player vital to that side, Josh Gibson as a defender, 22 disposals, 4 rebound 50s, and 8 marks. He just works so well with that Hawthorn spread off half back, which is absolutely vital to their structure.
Is it unfair to say that he's an underrated footballer?
Not really. I don't know. I think a part of his ability is underrated. He's underrated. He's not underrated as a defender. He's very, very rated as a defender.
Yep.
He's underrated as a user of the ball. Because you hear a lot about how good he is at spoiling the golden fist. But he's at 22 touches at 82% efficiency.
We'll have to send that into Spud, the old golden fist.
Yep. And the week before, if I'm not mistaken, he had 30 plus.
Yeah.
So he actually gets a lot of that ball in that half back line. And as Nick said, he is the architect of that spread.
Yeah.
He is the chief of that spread. And he uses the ball so well. 82% efficiency from a full back.
Yeah.
He is just exceptional.
Well, the only reason I ask that question is because I think he deserves more credit.
Well, I think he'd probably be in All-Australian contention if he hadn't been injured for the most part of the year.
10 weeks.
Bradley Hill was absolutely terrific. 27 disposals, 5 inside 50s, and 5 rebound 50s. Worked at both ends of the ground, absolutely terrific. Off that wing.
He and Isaac Smith
On the
are
wing.
both 100-metre players.
Yes, and they're both on the opposite wings.
Which other team in the
Oh,
competition?
I was going to
has-
say, that's the best combination of wingmen in the competition.
Absolutely.
I'd agree. I'd definitely agree with you there, Nick. I can't think of a better combination of wingmen.
Well, teams got 1, but not many teams have 2.
Excellent wingmen. Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and these are both top class. And Brad Hill, it's amazing to watch his growth because just last year he was just the sub. he'd come on, he'd be that impact player, and you think, oh, he'll be good when he's not the sub, and now
Now he's an impact player for 4 quarters.
Exactly.
50th game this week, so
Good on him.
looking for a big one.
Looking for a lot more as well, I think.
Yeah.
Jack Gunston was terrific. 7 marks, 3 goals, as he always is. And
Yep, go ahead.
sorry, go on.
No, well, Josh has him in his team of the year,
Yep.
Yeah.
and rightly so, because he's the kind of guy that will, in the absence of Roughhead, he'll take over that number.
You got Jack Gunston as your third forward because I'd probably put Hale above Gunston.
Yep.
To have Gunston as your third tall forward is just
That says something, doesn't it? And he doesn't miss. He's a dead-eye, so there's that.
Jordan Lewis has been
of
great
course.
all year. He was
We've
great
talked about him
against the
every
Cats. Yeah, five tackles, 4 clearances, 6 inside 50s, 3 goals.
Forget about it.
could
Just forget
have
about
a Brownlow.
You can go on about him. You can go on about him all day. I don't think he will, Josh, but he won't be too far off.
Silverioli boys trained today being Monday.
Yep.
Rioli Poli.
Spent 80% of the session with the main group, which is good to see. I believe he will play. I believe he'll be the sub.
Well, let's have a look at this logically. If he is training with the main group, this means one of two things. A, Hawthorn expect him to play this week.
Yeah.
Or B, they expect him to play the next week.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it is extremely presumptuous to think that, he'll be playing the next week.
I'll give you a third option.
Okay.
This is just too involved in the media for Hawthorn could perhaps just be scaring Port Adelaide a little bit, suggesting Silverioli
okay.
coming in.
Well, it does happen.
Or option 4.
Yeah.
He's been ruled out completely and he's out there for support.
Yeah. Well, he
Back then.
He
But I
takes-
doubt it, but he was
If
doing
he was
it.
training, yes.
He takes part in 80% of the main session.
Yeah.
Who's making that assessment? Is it the media? Is it Hawthorn telling some cameras he's playing?
Well, I honestly think Al Clarkson is not one to play these games. He just, if one of his best players is fit, he'll pick them.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'll, put Rioli through training sessions and potentially risk another injury just to, give Ken Hinkley a couple of hands in his pants.
There was talk that they were actually going to risk him at training of doing his hamstring again just to test him out.
Well, that's
To see how he is.
Well, if he comes into this side, God help us,
Who's
that
the-
Hawthorn team.
Who's the poor bugger that goes out?
Oh, jeez. Who do you think?
You're putting us on
I
the
don't
spot
know.
here.
Put me on the spot here. I haven't thought about
Because
it.
against Geelong, Jonathan Simpkin was very, very good.
Oh, well, then definitely Jonathan Simpkin.
Yeah, he was the sub. Yep, that's the obvious.
It doesn't
choice.
matter
But
to me
it-
that he
it
was
was very, very good.
But even still, I can't see anyone.
Yeah.
I can't see him staying in the side ahead of Cyril.
Oh, well, I was going into this game assuming Silverioli wouldn't play, which is why I thought Hawthorn
Well,
would
I'm
be
quite sure.
unchanged.
Did Billy Hartung play against Geelong?
I
Yes,
don't-
he did. He did. Didn't
Don't
he?
think so, no.
Okay. Well, that's interesting then.
Yeah.
So obviously.
So probably Simpkin if
Yep.
Rioli comes in. Anyway, moving
that will
on.
be interesting. Is Matt Suckling a chance to come back?
Not from what I've heard.
Yeah,
no.
me neither.
So
Moving on to Port Adelaide, they defeated Fremantle by 18 points on the weekend. Absolutely terrific win.
They've got the power to win.
Our Port Adelaide representative in our group, he's made an assessment. I think it was quarter time, maybe close to half time, which I shared the view. He could not see, I could not see a way for Port Adelaide to come back into that game. Fremantle were in complete control. They got the early lead. They were just holding them at arm's length. And you just thought, how on earth could they possibly win this
you're
game?
throwing young Jack under the bus here.
Well, it was a fair assessment. That's my point here. Because watching this game, You look at that game at half time. Fremantle, complete control.
I think what Nick is trying to allude to there is not necessarily the lack of accuracy in their perception, but more so the fact that
was your perception of
the
the game?
the sheer craziness of Port having won that game. Because if you watch that first half, you'd see that Fremantle definitely they should have probably been ahead by much more.
Fremantle didn't capitalise as much as you would
There
like,
were
but
a
still.
number of goals.
Well, they were 6-11 at half time.
Yeah, but still Port Adelaide, they just could not break out of that half.
Well, I can nominate 3 for you. Stephen Hill was running into the goal, and he probably should have. He had a man on over the top as well,
He's Matthew Pavlich.
and he chose to go for
burn
it.
the skipper.
Shouldn't focus on Fremantle
And
too much.
speaking of Matthew Pavlich, he missed a goal from about 30 metres out right in front.
Shouldn't focus on Fremantle too
And
much.
one more,
That's
just
the
quickly.
point.
And Nick Subban missed from about 30 out in
Yeah.
front.
Anyway,
So
the point here.
what we're trying to say here is that Port realised that they were, let off a bit.
Yep.
And they came back roaring.
In that second half,
And wobble, who tipped them, Rico?
both of us.
That's right. That's what I'm trying to allude to. They were trying to gang up on little Ricky.
Who won the tipping all year?
Yeah,
Ricky.
Anyway, so Port, they were exceptional after half time.
Instrumental in that half time.
And who architected
That second half
halftime
comeback was Ollie Wines, 5 tackles, 7 clearances, 7 inside 50s, and 3 goals.
Oh my
Quadzilla just
goodness.
tore that game to pieces.
He will be a top 5 player. I'll tell you that much right now. He's a second-year
Oh
player.
boy, 5 tackles, 7 clearances, 7 inside 50s, 3 goals.
He is a gun.
If you want to knock him, you can knock his efficiency, but when he's had 7 clearances, you give the kid a break. And
freak of nature.
how about the goal of the year contender?
Oh.
It's not the goal of the year contender because you can't be anymore. But if that was during the season,
Chad Wingard once again was very good. He finished with 4 goals in that game.
this kid, I don't care. I know there's some people, who think that he's overrated. Maybe the media do blow him up more than they should. Okay, I'll give you that. He still needs to achieve consistency. But if you don't think this kid is going to be a star, then there is something severely wrong with your perception. There is something severely wrong. And I do say this aiming it at some of the people that we know that don't rate them. I was going to post it, but I wanted to say...
I don't think he doesn't rate them. He just doesn't think he's had a very good year as many should.
He's going to be a star. He's going to be a star. If you're being tagged as his age, and if you want a best and fairest at the age of 20, you're going to be a star. So get over it all, you
Speaking of players who are going to be a star...
You bitter people.
Robbie Gray went at...
Bitter.
Robbie Gray went at 81% efficiency. He kicked 4 third quarter goals. Yep. 5 clearances, 2 score assists he finished that game with. He was the man.
4 goals in one quarter, Josh.
Yeah. In a semi-final.
That's unbelievable. And he got Zach Dawson reported too.
He got off those.
Hamish Hartlett, I absolutely love the way he goes about it. 33
You're a big fan of Hamish Hartlett.
I'm a huge fan of Hamish Hartlett. Probably his biggest fan. I don't know. 17 contested disposals.
Josh Gady.
8 marks, 8 clearances, 5 inside 50s. He was absolutely terrific.
8 marks and 8 clearances. 8 clearances is big for me because Hamish Hartlett was predominantly an outside player.
I think anything more than 7 clearances for anyone is
big. Is a big haul.
Yeah.
And he's predominantly an outside ball winner. So you can already see from the stats here that Port have killed the clearances. You've got Ollie Wine 7, Hartlett 8. You got what is it? Is that Robbie Gray with 5? So they're just smashing the clearances.
When this man Hamish Hartlett is up and about, I think that's when Port Adelaide are quite clearly at their best.
What's your word for him, Josh? You used it for Zorko in Brisbane, and you actually used it on Hartlett too.
What?
Here's a barometer.
Matthew Lobe is perhaps a barometer in his own way at times. 9 tackles. He's a ruckman. We talked about last week how valuable his tackles are to this side. 9 tackles.
What I love about this kid, Josh, is that he came up against Aaron Sandilands. He knew that he wasn't going to win the hit-out contest. He went in knowing that I'm not going to...
He's giving away almost 10 centimetres, 15 centimetres in Aaron Sandilands.
And he knew...
Most ruckmen are.
And he knew that I'm not going to beat this guy for hit-outs or hit-outs to advantage. And he went in there and used that to his advantage. He tackled harder. He went around the ground he equalled him.
And still finished with a respectable 27 hit-outs, which is, usually quite a good tally.
He assisted a couple of goals. He had a couple of clearances. He did his part for the team.
And he'll be absolutely vital once again this week. Justin Westhoff, the last one we'll mention, 12 marks and 5 inside 50s. I've always thought of this guy as a key forward, but he just does so much more.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's tough following him around, isn't it? Because his role keeps changing.
Very versatile.
He is. And if you're playing on him, you've got to be aware of that. No, he's not a forward anymore. He's going to be looking to, rebound off half.
You almost need a tall Ryan Crowley to follow him around. That's the kind of opposite player.
That's a good call, man.
Obviously doesn't have the same impact. Don't take this out of context.
Well, he does have a big impact. I mean, 12 marks.
Compared to who?
Nick Rewalt.
What do you mean?
The way he covers the ground.
This guy is like a poor man's Nick Rewalt. But that's saying a lot because a poor man's Nick Rewalt is still very expensive.
Absolutely. Before we go into the matchup, boys, a bit of team news. Tom Jonas should play. He was subbed out on the weekend with a hip injury. He should play. Other than that, I cannot see any other changes. This team is glued, ready to go, and hopefully, for their sake, into a grand final.
Working terrifically as a 22 they are.
Speaking of the glue, who is going to be glued to who this week? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, that's what we'll move on to now. Travis Boak, who do we think is going to go to him?
I
think we have some differing opinions.
Yes, I put quite a bit of effort into this, in what I think will happen in this game. And I do think that Liam Shields will probably go to him. Or Jordan Lewis will go head-to-head with Travis Boak. And Jordan Lewis has done that a lot in the past. A lot. He does it with Adelaide. When this opposition side is very good midfielders or damaging, he does it. And I think he'll be required. His services will be required. And if they're not, then that will mean Liam Shields and Will Langford will take up that job.
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with him. I was going to suggest those two as well. Liam Shields and Will Langford are your two stoppers at Hawthorn. So I think
Lewis is too valuable to use as a stay-at-home tagger. He offers too much.
My only concern is that Will Langford's been a very good attacking midfielder of late and been getting forward and kicking goals. If he's playing on Robbie Gray, that takes it away from Hawthorn.
Can we float the possibility of Hawthorn sending maybe just Shields to Boak and then just leaving the rest? leaving Gray.
Well, Robbie Gray's the other one we haven't touched on. I think he's so vital. I mentioned that last week as well. You just cannot leave him alone. And I believe that Crowley was playing on... Travis Boak.
Yes. And kept him quiet. Kept
him to 2 touches for the first half.
And 16 disposals overall. Well, the thing was, Robbie Gray was getting attention. But the thing was, he moved into the forward line.
Yeah.
As soon as that first quarter concluded, he knew that he was getting attention. Sorry, that's the first half.
Yeah.
He moved into the... And what happened? He kicked 4 goals in the 1 quarter. Yeah. So, I think they're better served tagging Boak, hard tag on Boak, stopping him from doing what he does so well. And I don't know, maybe just... They've got a good defence, don't they?
Yeah.
So maybe just banking on that.
Moving on, Sam Mitchell, Kane Corns will go in?
Yep. I think so.
No.
You don't think so?
No. Well, here's my wobble of the week.
Yep.
I said he'd go to Stephen Hill last week, and you both said he'd be too quick for me.
Hang on. I have acknowledged that, though. The fact that he might go to Isaac Smith.
I think he will go to Isaac Smith.
Yes. Okay, because what I did say earlier was that Port showed their hand a bit last week in that they do like to tag the outside runners.
Yeah.
They have done that a little bit throughout
This is the point I was trying to make before. I thought of the tag the wrong way around. They didn't tag Fife. They've instead chosen to tag...
Correct, yeah. And they've done that a bit this year. And I think that's what the thinking coaches seem to do. Paul Ruiz does it a lot as well. And I would not be surprised, Josh. I actually do think Isaac Smith very likely,
Kane Corns will go to Isaac Smith.
Yep. So I'm going to reevaluate.
Or Brad Hill.
I think Easy Smith will get the tag.
Okay.
Moving on to Jay Schultz. Brian Lake is probably the obvious matchup.
Monty.
Well, this is interesting because it's the big forward that has sort of gone down steadily, and it's the big defender who's also gone down steadily. Well, now they're meeting each other.
Well, this is what fascinates me. Looking at this matchup, Jay Schultz is a very lead-up type forward and likes to take it out in front. Whereas Brian Lake's more of a
body-to-body,
contested mark kind of player.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think Lake can operate as a closing defender. Yeah. Closing speed kind of defender, but
most defenders can, but I reckon Lake would prefer to play that body on body.
Oh, with Schultz, and I think Hawthorn will make it such that is what happens. Yep. I mean, if Schultz is leading up and taking marks 60 metres out, so be it. You know what I mean? That's not Hawthorn's prerogative.
Yeah. Jack Gunston, who do we think will follow him around? Probably Homsch would be one of the options.
Homsch, yeah.
What about? Oh, hang on. Oh no, we're doing. No, what about Jack Roughhead? Are we skipping over here?
Carla.
Alapati Karma, yes, that's a Monty.
A Monty. Moving on, Justin Westhoff we talked about before. They don't have any tall Ryan Crowleys to choose from, but possibly Ben Stratton or maybe Josh Gibson.
See, this is what I like. I think Ben Stratton is a perfect matchup for Robbie Gray when he goes forward.
Me too.
Ben Stratton is a player that can play small or tall.
Yep.
He is the perfect matchup for Robbie Gray.
I don't think that Ben Stratton will go to Robbie Gray. Only I would not be surprised if he did. But the reason I think Stratton will go to Westhoff is purely because Westhoff gets around the ground a lot. And I can't see Gibson following him into the forward line, into the defensive half when Westhoff plays as a defensive rebounder.
Yep.
And what I think is I can see Stratton doing that. And Stratton did do that the last time these two teams met. Granted that when they played last time, Gibson was not on the park because he was injured. But I think Gibson, as we've seen, the last 2 games, he's gotten in excess of 20 disposals at a very good disposal efficiency.
Yeah.
They'll want him to play in that defensive half and see what Port do about it. Because if Port didn't do anything about him, you know what? He's just going to, build himself another 25 disposals and
do something.
Yeah.
Up the other end of the ground, you've got Luke Bruce to worry about, who's in some terrific form. Cam O'Shea is the obvious matchup.
Yes.
I wouldn't say obvious matchup. I think Jasper Pittard's
I honestly think Cam O'Shea is pretty Monty here because Jasper Pittard is used a lot up the ground as a rebounding defender.
I was going to say Luke Bruce is too good of a mark to leave her alone with a small defender like Jasper Pittard.
And Jasper Pittard, to be honest, he's not really a defender in the traditional sense of the word. He is, but he operates a lot more as a rebounding defender.
Yeah.
I just said he isn't a defender, but I'm saying he is. He's not a traditional kind of lockdown. Yeah. He does run a lot of half back. If you watch Port, he's the kind of guy that once the ball gets bombed out, he'll be at half forward, getting the handball from the guy running past and all that kind of thing. So,
and last of all, probably Chad Wingard. Ben Stratton would be another option to go to him.
Taylor Jiraiya for me.
To
Chad Wingard.
Chad Wingard. Oh, okay. Yep, I like that. Taylor Jiraiya.
Or Angus Litherland, who's a sneaky chance.
I think if Litherland plays, he'll go to Wingard.
Yeah.
Because Jiraiya, again, he's the kind of guy that offers a lot of half-back, particularly in the absence of Matt Suckling.
Yeah.
So he's one of those left-footers that they'll need off half.
I think either Jiraiya or Litherland.
Correct. But they will put a lot of effort into him, you can be sure of that.
Okay, moving into our tips, guys. Who do you think's going to win this game?
I'll kick us off this time.
Good.
How's that sound?
Good.
As I said for North Melbourne, I think they...
Who do you think he's going to tip, Nick?
Oh, everyone! Majority of people are going to tip
He just gave me the eyebrows just then, so I was...
Anyway, go on.
I don't even know.
I love it when...
Don't even know why I bother with you two sometimes.
His facial expression when you start talking about Hawthorn is just, oh, it's worth its weight in gold. But continue, go ahead.
Apologies,
you
Josh.
sure?
Go ahead. No, we're interested. Go ahead. We want to hear your tip.
I think Port Adelaide play their grand final this week against Fremantle.
Okay.
They put a lot of effort in coming back against the Dockers. They were 31 points down and managed to have a 53-point turnaround and win by 22. I want to give a quick pump up to Ken Hinkley. The job he has done for this Port Adelaide side has been absolutely phenomenal. And he'll have a plan in mind to keep Hawthorn out in this game. But Hawthorn, for me, they've had the week off, similar to Sydney. They're just going to be too strong across the ground, I think. Port Adelaide don't play at the MCG very often. Hawthorn love it there. They'll win, for me, by about 24 points.
See, I don't think Port Adelaide have played their grand final in the semi-final. I think that's shown that they're good enough to match it with Hawthorn. They will definitely challenge in this game. Having said that, I do think Hawthorn will win. Probably a close game, and Hawthorn will get the job done by 15 points in the end.
So you predicted that to be said, but by me, but not by him.
Go on with it.
Hawthorn, I think, are probably just the better team all around the park. And that tells a lot. Port have a lot of spirit, though. And if they manage to win this, that's got to be one of the most unbelievable feats that have been pulled off.
In 2 years as well.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. In history, in AFL history, for a club to go from dead last to...
Well, I said Ken Hinkley has done an amazing job, and a number of teams passed up on him.
Yeah.
Gold Coast did, Richmond did, I think Essendon did as well.
Well, to be fair, those teams aren't doing too poorly, but you're right in saying that he's an absolute mastermind.
Your tip for it?
I think Hawthorn. I'll be at this game. I will be there. But I'm going to tip Hawthorn by just a point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Close.
I know this is odd because in news and views, I did say that I think North have a better chance against Sydney than Hawthorn. Port against Northern. So now I'm doing a bit of a 180. But having gone over all this, I've just changed my mind. And I think, I don't know, Port just have so much spirit. To come from behind, like they did in Freo, in front of those many fans at Patterson's.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, I don't know. And Ken Hinkley, you mentioned, he's just an unbelievable coach. I'm really tempted to do the unspeakable.
You won't do it.
Yeah, right, I'll tip Hawthorn by just No, the reason is because Hawthorn will find a way. Yeah. They will find a way. Even if Port get off to an early start, even if they're leading by 4 goals, I think they'll find a way. Hawthorn by a point.
That brings us to the end for our match preview for the second and last of the preliminary finals. Thanks very much for watching. There's a link, of course, to the first preliminary final, Sydney versus North Melbourne, at the end, as well as a link to news and views, where we talked about the Brownlow and All Australian.
Go Hawks.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for watching. Good luck to your team. Good luck to your team on the weekend, Josh. We'll see you next time.
Good luck.